Let's start the session. Actually, the Deepak is going to present this session, and he has around 6+ years of experience in software field. So I'm handovering to Deepak, so he'll be explaining the things. Hi, Deepak. Welcome.
I have one. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. So, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Uh, yeah. So let's start the session. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, you can give a small intro about yourself also to the team.
Okay. So I'm Deepak. I have almost 6.5 years experience in software testing. I was there in Calicut, so I know Pradeep and Ashu from there. And from now it's switched to company now in a product company. So I have experience in both service and product company. I've been into manual and automation testing as well as performance testing. So today we'll be discussing about the latest trends. So where we are headed as QA folks, what we should expect when we are going forward. So we'll be discussing those topics. So let me share my screen and let me know once you're able to see it. Are you able to see my screen?
It's loading, Deepak.
Okay. What about now? Is it fine?
Um,
Uh, yeah, now it's
yeah,
visible.
Okay. I hope you can see the slides.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so okay, we are we are in a world where we are giving more importance to QA processes. So it was not like that in the last decade or so. Now QA people are getting more recognized, and QA people are more responsible, and they have to do lots of tasks. It's not merely testing. We have to ensure the quality of the product from the requirement gathering till the end, till you deliver the product to the customer. So it's a developing area. It's an emerging area, software testing, and this today we'll be discussing some trends where we are headed in this field. Okay, so these are our discussion points. So how we are progressing, we'll be discussing about the timeline and some topics like QA ops, IoT, big data testing, AI testing, and RPA. Okay, so moving on the timeline. So we are having almost 3 decades of data here, uh, very short. Earlier we had waterfall methodology. I hope you guys know what is an SDLC and waterfall and all. So where we get the testing after, where we get one phase only after the other, that kind of thing. And it was at that time testing was a part of the process. Testing was only supposed to do whether it meets the requirements, whether the desired product is made or not. Then we needed we had certain other type of testing like regression testing. We need to test all the other features when we are adding new modules and everything. So there was a need for automation because we cannot do everything manually. So we started investigating about the automation tools, and we were having some automation tools, and they were using spreadsheets and all at the beginning for automation. So they will write code and they will read from spreadsheets and also. It was a bit of a bulky. Then came 2000 where we had agile practices where customers' needs were changing frequently. They need to prioritize things on the go. They need to deliver things, and they need things to be changed on the go. So agile approaches came, and at the same time, we needed a robust framework. We needed we need more robust and reliable frameworks, which can also be altered on the way. Here comes Selenium and all. After that, now it's more about scaling. So you might have heard about the Kubernetes and other scaling platforms and everything. So when AWS services and everything, whenever we need scaling, these applications we can use. So now it's how many people that we can accommodate in our system. You heard of you know about Meta, Instagram, and all these things, Amazon, Netflix. These people are actually accommodating millions of people. So now it's more about scaling, and from QA end, how we can test this highly scalable application. So where we are headed now, we are headed to the autonomous world, I mean AI's world, where we have to test AI systems and we have to create AI systems which can test our systems. Okay, so this is what we are expecting as a future. Software development is also moving towards the AI phase. Can I move on?
Yeah,
Yes.
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 Okay. So this is the first topic that we are going to discuss as a trend. QA ops. I hope you guys about the DevOps pipeline and CI/CD pipeline and all. You are aware of that, right?
Yes, little bit.
Yeah. So I'll start from CI/CD then. Uh, so suppose we have to create a calculator. I'm taking calculator as a simple example. Uh, so the developer won't be creating it in a single sitting. So the first day the developer comes and the developer creates this function for addition only. So it will give you an output of 4 if you give input as 2 and 2, something like that. The next day the developer comes and creates a code bit code for subtraction. So at the beginning of the third day, we are having a function, we are having a calculator which can do addition and subtraction. Third day he may add multiplication to it. So it's actually, we are creating chunks, we are creating small modules, and as we go on we are integrating it. Okay, so if you ask the developer at the end of the first day, the calculator will only have addition functionality, it can only add. The next day, if you ask the next day, we'll be having two functionality. So we are actually continuously integrating these things, and we need a platform, we need a pipeline, or we need a channel where we can continuously deliver this. There comes the CI/CD pipeline, which is called continuous integration and continuous delivery. We can set our code repos as source, and we can set our servers as a destination, and we can say whenever there is a change in the code, create a new build, integrate these things and create a new build. So the new build will be deployed to server. So that's how CI/CD works. Okay. So for maintaining this CI/CD pipeline, maintaining the servers, we are having a DevOps team. And since QA can also write automation tests, and this is also code, we can integrate this CI/CD with QA. So what happens is, whenever there is a code change, whenever there is someone is changing a code and someone is pushing that code, or someone is merging something to master or develop, whichever branch you are choosing, we can write a function, we can write a code to create a new build and deploy to a server. That's what happening in CI/CD. At the same time, we can write a code to invoke the test, automation test that we have written. So we can incorporate our QA process also into CI/CD, which is called QA ops. Earlier, what we used to do is, we write our test cases, we write our code in our local machine, and if the developer says, or the team says, okay, we have deployed a new change, we'll start executing it from our local machine, and we'll generate a report, and we'll say, okay, this is failed, that is passed on. We show that report to the stakeholders, to the PM, to team members and all, and we raise bugs accordingly. Sometimes it may be script's fault. In that case, we'll fix the script. So that was the process. Now what we are doing is, we create a more robust, more reliable script, and we put it in the pipeline. So what happens is, whenever there is a new build, this pipeline will, after before deploying to a higher environment, for example, I'm going with the flow QA, staging, and production. So first it will deploy to QA, and if you are asking this pipeline to promote this QA build to staging, we'll run this pipeline, we'll run the scripts automatically, and we'll generate the report, and we can send it to the stakeholders with the help of a job. Okay, so what happens here is, we don't have to check every time, and we don't have to waste time for smoke tests and all. Think of a scenario where we are having a new build and we have to do the smoke test. In that case, this will be helpful. Okay, so we can say a new build is arriving and new build is deployed to QA environment. Okay, then do a smoke test. We don't have to do that because it's already configured in the pipeline. So this is what QA ops is. So we can set the test execution as we need. whether we need it in while promoting to a new environment, or when we need it daily at 10 a.m., or where you need it in every Monday at 10 a.m. We can set the time when you need it, and also we can do it accordingly, and we can do it's actually automated, so it will go without any supervision. Can I move on?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Now making sense. Okay, if you are having any doubts, you can stop me then and there.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Next thing is IoT testing. So IoT testing, IoT devices are there among us for the last 5 6 years. So you are having these smartwatches and fitness watches and Google Home, Apple HomePad, Amazon Alexa, all these things. So what happens if you wear a smart items? For example, if you are having a smartwatch, what happens there? It actually monitors our vitals, and it sends this information to our phone, either through Bluetooth or through Wi-Fi, and it also sends this information to a cloud server, and also it can have its own network carrier, so it can make calls and all these things. So what happens here is, you might have came across this mobile app testing. So what happens in mobile app testing is, there will be functionality that needs to be covered, and additional to that, we have to check the miscellaneous scenarios, in the sense, what happens if the app is in background, what happens if the app is in foreground, what happens if it is in power saving mode, how the RAM utilization is going, and how fast the app is responding in a low power mode. So all these things we have to check. There are so many miscellaneous things. What happens if the network drops? What happens if it is 2G? What happens if it's 3G? Okay, now it's 5G is arriving. So what happens? How fast it will behave in 5G? So there are miscellaneous test cases for a mobile app testing. So think of three different hardware. I'm talking about a cloud platform and a Apple Watch and an iPhone. So think of three different platforms, three different hardware, uh, three different software, and they are communicating each other. And there can be number of scenarios. So we won't be able to document each and everything in case of IoT testing. That's the highest challenge here. So it's actually exploratory. Think of scenarios of we have to read this person's vital who is wearing an Apple Watch, and the person is swimming. That's a scenario. The person is running, and the watch is lost. We have to check the location. So there can be infinite number of scenarios that can arise, because we are having different combinations, and we are having different connectivities. We are having different OS. We are having different applications running in these devices, and we are actually communicating via actions and data. So this data that we are collecting from Apple Watch has to be sent to the cloud and to the iPhone. So all these things are there. So that's a challenging phase, and this is actually evolving. IoT testing is evolving, and it's highly challenging area where we have to check the security functionality, and it should be fast. It should be fast. If there is any issues, you might have heard the news where during a car crash, iPhone made a call. I mean, Apple Watch made a call to rescue the owner. So it should be quick. So all these things we need to take care along with exploratory test cases. So this is another area that we can look into it. Any doubts here?
So IoT testing, it means like it kind of like iOS testing, or like how
It's
it's
not.
a
It's
kind
not
of a
iOS.
device.
Okay. Internet of
It's a
Things.
device testing, or
It's
okay,
not a device testing. It's a combination of all. IoT means Internet of Things. So we are having a
okay.
connected ecosystem for all these things, right? If you're purchasing
Mm-mm.
an Apple Watch, we are expecting the person is having an iPhone and having an access to Apple account, not a MacBook, but an Apple account,
Okay.
right? So these devices will communicate.
Mm-mm.
That
Okay,
means,
yeah,
Deepak, that means two or three hardware's connection like that. Any
yes,
definition can be provided.
yes, two or three hardwares will be there, and two or three softwares also will be there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Actually, I didn't do like this kind of testing
yeah,
and all. Like So for this, for example, if you are taking this kind of testing, we
Mhm.
need an APK file in mobile, and then for watch related, how it will be testing.
Yeah,
Like,
so for IoT testing, what we do is we have to get that device.
okay,
We,
device means I am asking if
yeah, we have to get that watch. We have to get
okay.
that watch, and we
Uh,
have to simulate different scenarios. That's
in
the
that
challenge.
watch,
Yeah.
yeah, in that watch, what we means like APK file we will be installing in a mobile
No,
app.
no. It won't be like that. It won't be just like an APK file. Yeah, in development phase, we can install the files that we are creating. Yeah, we
Okay,
can install all these things. We can create new versions, and we can install like just like we install it in a mobile application. No issues.
okay,
Yeah, and we'll check each version is working fine. But the thing is, we have to check where it is failing. Sometimes the watch may not be transmitting the data.
hmm.
Sometimes the application in our phone is not receiving the data.
Okay.
So yeah.
I am asking that in this scenario,
Mm-hmm.
even for the smartwatch related,
Mm-hmm.
means they will be providing a particular device or not only watch, right? Like
Yeah.
for testing, because for mobile application testing, they will be providing APK and we can install it, and also by using
Yes.
Lambda and all different
Yes.
devices compatibility and all, we are able to test it. Okay.
Yes. Exactly.
For this one, uh, actually, they will be providing watch or any other software is there for testing.
Yes, it depends on the customer actually. They have to provide their devices. That's how it is. Because if they are launching an Apple Watch
Hmm.
and they are going to launch it, and before launching it, they want to give it for testing.
Okay.
We cannot get an Apple Watch if unless they launch it, right? So we won't
Hmm.
be able to purchase it our own. So they have to give us the APK and softwares and everything. Not
Software.
APK, yeah, IPA files and software and everything. Then we'll create an environment where we can test it. So in that case, we will check the sensors and what happens if the sensors is this much water deep. What happens if you are wearing it, if you are running or walking, whether it's properly recorded and it's creating these graphs and all these diagrams in our mobile, and what happens in an emergency situation. We have to simulate all these things.
Okay.
So since the software is involved and since the software is communicating with other softwares in other systems, we are also involved. That's where software QA engineers are involved.
Okay.
The hardware and it won't break. It won't break if it is fall from this fight. All these things are already tested and it will be done by the hardware testing engineers.
Okay. Okay.
But there's a software inbuilt, so we have to check that.
Okay. That means internet online testing. This is one
No.
scenario.
Internet of things. IoT means Internet of Things.
Internet or under
Different
internet.
things are connected. That's all.
Okay.
Different things
Okay.
are connected. It's not merely mobile connected to internet. It's mobile, and you can have. You might have seen the ads like you can simply ask Alexa to order something in your
Okay.
cart.
Yes. Yes.
So it's actually calling Amazon, and the purchase is made there, and whatever credit card information that you've filled in, it is using that.
Okay.
So and you can check that update in your phone.
Okay.
So everything is connected. Internet of Things, different hardware, different software components are actually connected. So
Okay.
this connected system here to test.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Deep.
Yeah. Any other doubts?
Hi Deepak, Aishwarya
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Please excuse the background noise, I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, my question here is like, so for cross-browser testing and other IPA testings, we do
Mm-hmm.
have a platforms like Lambda, Browser Stack, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So for IoT testing, is there any supporting platform like that available?
Okay, so simulators, we can have simulators, but at the same time, as I said, it's merely exploratory testing. Okay, even though we have scenarios that we can cover by writing test cases, it's purely exploratory. Okay, yeah. So what happens? What happens in the case of a okay, we can create as many scenarios as we want, right? So we are not we can have simulators which can simulate. We can have simulators where we can send the BP as 0 or pulse as 0, and what happens then? So yeah, simulators are available, but still how to use the simulators, it's not there. We can have some scenarios written, but yeah, well versed. Yeah, I would say well versed IoT testing platforms are not there. Well versed. Yeah. Okay. Can I move on? Any other doubts?
Any other doubts, guys? Please free to ask. I guess you can move, Deepak.
Yeah. Next thing is big data testing. I hope you guys know about big data. What is big data and all? You know it, right? Okay, I'll start there. Okay, now I'm going with an example of textiles. Okay, suppose we have a textile industry. Suppose I have a textile. I'm running the textile for the last 20 years. I'll be having lots of data with me. Lots of data in the sense I'll be having data of the sales, the purchase that I made, the discount that I've given, and the clothes, the apparels that I have sold, or that will be based on months, days, and all, and based on certain festivities like Onam, Ramzan, something like that. So I'll be having data like this, and I'll be having data of the employees, and salaries of the employees, and also if there are any other investors or any other partners. So all this profit information, everything will be there. So if you are recording all this information, everything will be there. This is the data. This is the big data. So it's called data because it doesn't make any sense unless we make a relation out of it. So suppose we are saying, okay, you gave 20% discount in Ramzan season, and that was the highest discount the people could get at that time. That's why your stock clearance was more than 60%, and you made a profit of around 1 crore or 2 crore. If you are reading it like that, it makes value. So that is what big data is doing. We'll get lots of information. We'll get lots of data, not information. We'll get lots of data from the companies where we are processing it and we are making it a meaningful statement. So why do we have to make that? Because based on the patterns, we'll be able to predict. Okay, so next, we are Onam festival is coming. So give at least 20% discount and purchase this much apparel, this much clothes, and focus on kids costume more, something like that. And you will be having a profit of 1.5 crores. If you're saying like that, it's actually value for the company. So we are actually plotting trends here. What happens here? What happened in the past, what we have seen, and this can happen in the future. Okay, so that's where the analytics and data science and everything comes, where we are creating a correlation between the data that we have. There will be, okay, there won't be any, what we can say, there won't be any correlation, but we are trying to map it. Okay, understood? Hello? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
Yes,
So yeah, so we are getting this much data and we are making information out of it. So there will be softwares, there will be models which can predict this data, predict the output, what will happen in the next month, what will happen in the next year, what are the changes that you have to need to make the sale double in the next few decades or few years. So all this information will be there, and we are feeding, that system is actually consuming the data from the customer. So the testing comes merely on the purely on the data. Okay, we are checking whether the data that we are feeding is accurate. What happens if we are feeding how we are how fast we are getting the data, how fast we are getting the information out of it, and uh, all these things. So data related testing, whether we are getting the correct data, and whether we are reading it properly, whether we are storing it properly. So all these data related testing and model related testing will comes in big data testing. Okay, so this is actually, so you might have heard the data scientist and data analyst roles. So there will be defining these models and everything. Models to consume this data. Model means you can think of a software where we can consume this data and create an output, create a value. Okay, so here testers are also involved for checking the data storage, checking the accuracy and all. Okay, so that's what the testing of big data means.
I have a question actually.
Yeah.
So, any tool you'll be using for testing this?
Okay, we are having some ETL applications. Heard of it?
Yeah, yeah, I heard.
Yeah. So these tools can be used up to an extent.
Mm,
Up,
mm,
I'm saying up to an extent because this is a, okay. Whatever it will be custom made. That's the first challenge. So the
mm,
software or the model that you create for a software industry or a software customer, sorry, in textile customer won't be used for a banking customer. If a
mm, mm.
customer comes with, okay, I have 100 GB of data, you can process and give me an information. You have to start from the scratch. You have to create a new model. Okay,
Okay.
you have to create a new model because data will be different, the conditions will be different,
Mm, mm,
entirely different. Because discounts and here it's clothes, but in the case of banks, it will be loans and the interest rate and everything, and
mm,
the
mm.
correlation will be different. So everything, so these things are different, but the testing pattern would be focused on data because we are mainly checking whether the data is properly stored and the output is properly, we are getting the output correct. So we can use some of the ETL
Okay.
technologies, ETL methods, but up to an extent.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
because we need to have an understanding. So the new trends, we can go with black box testing. We need to know what's happening inside. That's the challenge here. So till now, what we are doing is we are doing black box testing. We'll get a piece of code and we'll be saying, okay, if you give this, these are the expectations, and we'll give that inputs, and the expectations are not met, then it's a bug. Now what happens is we know we need to know what's happening inside, why it didn't give the output, where is there, why it is not giving. Okay, that kind of discussions we need to start. So it's kind of a
Okay.
white box testing kind of thing, but we can use the ETL tools and other DB storage and all these things, queries and everything to
Mm,
check this data. That's there, but up to an extent. I would say up to an extent because each model needs their own white box testing.
okay. Understood.
Yeah. Moving on. Any other doubts, guys? Okay, moving on. Next thing is the AI testing. So AI testing has two main divisions. One is testing with AI. So we are creating a system, and that system can be used to test our other systems. For example, I am having a software and I am having an AI system, and I'm developing this AI system in such a way that the AI system will do the testing. So that's one way. Another thing is I'm developing an AI system and I have to test that. Okay. So developing an AI system is, as I said in big data testing, it's custom made. I mean, the AI system will be custom made. One AI system won't process all the other things. We are expected set of values. It will give you an output. For example, you can think of Midjourney and ChatGPT as some of the AI systems. I hope you are aware of these things. ChatGPT and ChatGPT you might be knowing. Midjourney AI, you know it, right? Okay. So an AI platform where we can fill in information, we can give some inputs, and it will process that information and it will give you an output. Okay. So how we can test it? That's the highest challenge because each time you're feeding in an information, it's actually giving you an output and it's also learning from that. Okay. It's also creating a pattern. So each time it's evolving. Each time you test, it's evolving. And for creating an AI system, there would be number of iterations, number of cycles the developers have fed in data. I mean, uh, are you familiar with any of the AI systems? A simple cat, dog distinguish that there's a AI for that. Heard of it?
So, Deepak, what is the full form AI?
Uh,
Means
okay, artificial intelligence. Okay, so we are having artificial intelligence means we don't have to give anything. The system will learn its own, and the system will make a decision its own. Okay. For example, I can give you a basic. Okay. For okay, suppose we are having a camera and the camera. Okay, suppose we are having a photo processing software, and we are uploading photos of cats, different angles, different types of cats all around the world. We are uploading cats pictures, and we are saying these are cats, these are cats, these are cats. Each time we upload a cat picture, we are saying this is cat, this is cat. And at the same time, we are uploading dogs pictures and we are saying this is dog, this is dog, this is dog. And we are writing in a system in such a way that it captures some unique properties from the pictures. Captures some unique properties from the pictures. Say dogs are having longer ears or something like that. Unique properties from the pictures. And the system is ready to say whether the uploaded picture is a cat or a dog. The system itself is ready. So after 1,000 or 10,000 iterations, after uploading this many number of pictures, the system itself will be ready. Okay, now I can distinguish between cats or dogs, cats and dogs. Okay. In that state, if you upload a dog's picture, it will say it's a dog. The system is saying it's a dog. And if you upload a cat's picture, it will say it's a cat, which we call supervised learning, which it's more into deep machine learning and deep learning concepts. But to make you understand what's AI, we are developing a system, and the system can learn itself. And for learning purpose, we need more data, and each cycle will make it stronger. I mean, make it stronger means make it more intelligent. Okay. In that case, in that case, the system can say, okay, what you uploaded is a dog's picture, and when you upload a cat's picture, it will say it's a cat's picture. Okay. That's a minimalistic way of saying what is an AI system. We can have other outcomes as well. Am I making sense? Can I move on?
Yes.
Yeah. So as I said, we have to upload tens of thousands of pictures of cats and dogs to make the system learn, right? Because then only system will understand, okay, these are all cats, these are all dogs. Dogs can look this way. Oh, this way too, like that. Similarly, for creating an AI system for a particular industry, particular customer, we need iterations of data to be fed, and we have to check the output. And so if you are in cats dogs case, if you are uploading 10 pictures of cats and 10 pictures of dogs, and if you upload a cat's picture, it won't say it's a cat. It may not, it may or may not. Okay, so it may say, okay, it's a dog's picture. So what is lacking there is we are having no much data fed into that application or to the system, AI system. So more the data, more the knowledge, more the data points will be collected, more the accurate will be the system. So for developing such a system itself, we need loads of data. We'll be iterating, each cycle will be, so it will be iteration. It will be iterations of data. And once the model is ready, we'll be feeding it and we'll be correcting it. We'll be refeeding it. So think of 10,000 data sets. They are already used up by the developers. And you have to check some edge cases. How will you do it? So the QA engineers have to come up with data. So we have to create data sets. We have to collect data from the customers. So the lack of data, and it can have different inputs and different outputs. That's the biggest challenge. So as I said in the big data testing, if you feed a data, so in a calculator application, if you are feeding 2 and 2, and we need to add it, we can expect 4. If it is not 4, it's a bug. But in this case, the AI system is saying it's 5. Why it's 5? Why the AI is giving 5? What is actually happening inside? So AI testers are actually expected to be well versed in deep learning and machine learning concepts. How these neural networks works, how these neural links works. Okay. So these are the challenges, and when we are giving some answers, it will be biased to one side. Maybe one data point will be the error, so it will take time to rectify that. Okay, so that's how critical is AI testing. So now we discussed about how we can test in AI and what are the challenges. Okay, any doubts here?
No. Guys, you have any doubts, please feel free to ask. I guess you can move on.
Okay, now next thing is we have a system and we have an AI tool which can be used for testing. Okay, so think of it as a Selenium or automation replacement. Okay, so we are having a application and we are having Selenium. So instead of Selenium, what if we are having a AI tool? Okay, for that we are having some of the RPA tools in the market which you can purchase and you can use it. So RPA tools main advantage is in Selenium the limitations are you can work with one browser or you can work with two browsers, but it mainly depends on the browser, and you won't be able to the when you compare RPA and Selenium, the data element selection and element detection is kind of tricky, and sometimes it will get fail. But RPA is actually, in simpler words, it's record and playback. You can simply record what you have to do, and the system will uh, do it its own. So you might have came across Selenium IDE or Catalan Record or something like that.
Yes.
Yes. So you know what happens there. So once you click or once you do one action, it's getting recorded in the IDE or the Catalan recorded, and you can see and you can edit that. Okay. But even if you give that, even if you do it correct, the next execution it may fail, because when we are recording, the data element captured may not be correct. The web element ID may not be correct. Have you came across that situations? One time it will work, one time it won't. Right? Okay. So there are issues like that. But when you're using RPA tools, they are more equipped. They are using robots which can see these elements like human like. So they will be checking this ID. If it's not there, they'll be checking the CSS selector. So whenever there is whatever adjustment needed to pick that element or click that element or send some information or send keys, what we say, or input something to the text field. So it will look for that element based on so many other parameters. So it is easy for us to locate and to proceed with that element. And also we can create flow charts. So in case of Catalan Recorder, there is another tool called Catalan Studio. I don't know whether you're familiar with that. Catalan Recorder is simply record and playback. In Catalan Studio and all, we can create flowchart, I think. So flowchart in the sense, you can create if else conditions, you can create processing commands and all, and it will, you know what is a flowchart, right?
Yes, Deepak.
Yeah, we can have different paths, and what if, okay, this test fails, if it is not failed, proceed to the next step. If it is failed, you go and execute this test and check whether what's the result. So all these things we can do. So mainly there's a designer, orchestrator, and robots. These are the three parts of our RPA. And one is for designing what we have to test, another one is for scheduling and creating these flow diagrams and all. So it's pretty easy because all the elements will be there in the UI of the in the UI, which you can simply map and you can rearrange the items and you can schedule it and it will execute. So this is an AI tool. So once you execute it, it will check the element is not there. Okay, next time use ID is not working for that. So this execution I use CSS selector. Next execution I'll be using CSS selector first. But in the case of Selenium, if you are writing ID first, it will go for ID first. So it's self-learning also. So RPA means robotic process automation. Okay, robotic process automation. We are actually we are not automating a web browser. We are actually automating the process. So you can interact with the other applications in the computer also, like Notepad and all. But that's not possible in the case of Selenium. You can, yeah, obviously you can open a file and you can access that file, write and read everything, but it won't be there in the UI. If it is executing, you won't be see it in the UI. But if you are using RPA tools like UiPath or Anywhere Automation Universal, these tools, it will be and you can see the tool is the web notepad is getting opened and values are entered or values are read, and you can also scrape text from the website. You can simply using Selenium, you won't be able to select a particular text unless it's a text field or a in a string. If it's not a string, you won't be able to scrap out of an image. These tools are providing yeah, options for that. So it's pretty straightforward and pretty easy to use once you get a hang of it, and you don't need any coding experience for that. For Selenium ID, you don't need any coding experience. You can simply start recording and you can run it again. So similarly, RPA tools can also do. But if you are going with an RPA tool, it's better to make most out of it because the costs are pretty high. Okay, so these are the few topics that I could think of, and these are the few trends that we have to look forward to. Thank you.
So thanks, Deepak, for explaining the things. The session is really informative and useful. So thank you guys for joining. So let's wind up, I guess.